Carolina Barbecue Festival's 5th anniversary will be the Queen City's biggest barbecue party yet. 30 pitmasters, 3 big events, and it all gets started with the barbecue brunch, brisket and biscuits. Expert barbecue pitmasters team up with Charlotte's top chefs to create a curated food event in partnership with Savor Charlotte. Brisket and Biscuits, March 28th at Town Brewing in Charlotte. Reserve your tickets right now at CarolinaBBQFest.org. To discover other features in Savor Charlotte's March culinary adventure, visit the Eat and Drink menu at charlottesgotalot.com. And at this time in our history, the traditions and flavors of American barbecue spread across this land from sea to shining sea, from Skylight Inn in Aden and Wilbur's in Goldsboro to Jocko's on the Central California coast, Talena's in Honolulu, and all the places in between like Tennessee, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Texas. The sauces and the wood and the techniques, they all may vary, but it all fits under one big continental map of American barbecue. Today on the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, we're talking with a creative designer who is a 3-time gold medal winner with the Society of Illustration. He's been a senior designer with Adult Swim, and his client list includes Apple, Cartoon Network, Foot Locker, many more. Joseph Veazey's Atlanta Wrap Map has raised thousands of dollars for charity and has been acquired by the Library of Congress, the United States Library of Congress. But whoa, this is a barbecue podcast, and we're excited to welcome Joseph Veazey to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show to talk about some of his latest projects, including American Barbecue Map. Joe, welcome to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk some barbecue.
Now, I've given the official spiel from research. I want you to take a moment and introduce yourself. Tell our audience who you are and what they need to know about you.
Yeah, that was a very flattering intro. I don't know, in terms of adding to that, I've been a graphic designer and illustrator for 15 years, most prominently working for Adult Swim and a lot of other clients, and lived in New York for a little while and originally from Georgia. So pretty much done it all in the graphic design and illustration field, and lately have been focusing in on art and making prints and maps and map making and things like that.
Yeah, and that brings us to our conversation today. Before we get into that conversation, do got to ask, you like barbecue. You've tried a lot of barbecue, right? You aren't just drawing a map ignorantly.
Yeah, you could say barbecue obsessed, I guess.
Oh, good. That's you're in good company in that respect. And we're looking forward to learning more about your American Barbecue Map on this episode. It's sponsored by the Carolina Barbecue Festival coming up April 17th and 18th in Charlotte's Victoria Yards. Tickets are on sale right now at CarolinaBBQFest.org. Use promo code Low and Slow. That's all caps, all one word, Low and Slow. When you buy your tickets, you'll get a discount on passes. You can get Friday nights tickets. That's the big kickoff with tastings from 5 Charlotte barbecue spots. You could also get tickets for Saturday. That's the big main event, 25 pitmaster stations offering all your favorite barbecue bites there in Victoria Yards in Charlotte. Just visit CarolinaBBQFest.org for tickets. You can find more details in the blog at our website, lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Lowdown. And we'll share the latest news from the Carolina Barbecue Festival and the Carolina barbecue scene with you. Don't forget, check out our episodes. That's our full library of 4 seasons of podcasts. We had plenty of conversations with pit masters, among them some new pit masters are going to be coming to the Carolina Barbecue Festival. Griffin Buffkin, Harrison Sapp from Southern Soul Barbecue. That's in St. Simons. Of course, we've got returning pit masters like our buddy Brian Furman, who was once hailed as the barbecue king of Atlanta. Joseph, that's where we're going to start with our guest today. He's in Atlanta, spends a bunch of time working as a graphic designer there, Georgia State University. But we're talking about barbecue. Joe, what is the American Barbecue Map? How did you get into creating that? And tell our folks all about it.
Yeah, when I was doing a lot of client-based work, I felt this urge to do these big, detailed, almost Where's Waldo-like drawings. And I was doing them a lot at Adult Swim for different Comic-Con events and things they do. And it started to turn into a headache because, you do all these details and the legal department will want you to redo a whole section. You're like, this is hand done though. Like, that's not easy. And then, the company owns all the rights to it afterwards. And it never felt worth the time and the the heart and soul I was putting into it. So I thought, if I have the calling to do this type of work, I might as well do it for myself. I can own it. I can sell it for the rest of my life. And I could focus in on something I really care about and really love, and wouldn't mind putting a couple of years into working on the research and the creation of. So one day it just hit me to start with Atlanta hip hop. That was the music I grew up on, that I really loved, of my formative years and all that. And even when I lived in New York, I always found myself keeping my finger on the pulse and keeping up with the new artists coming out of Atlanta. There's something special about it. So that was my original one. And it took about 3 years to paint. I hand painted. I did it the most cumbersome, difficult way to do it. There was no book on Atlanta hip hop, so all the research was from scratch. And it was tough, but it was just so fun. It was hard not to work on it each night. So I realized I got something here. I love doing this, and I had a lot of success with it. Like you said, the Library of Congress acquired a copy, and it was almost every week it had some sort of fun opportunity come out of it. So some time had gone by. I was able to donate some of the earnings to charity, and I thought, what's next? What do I do next? And then one day it just hit me to do a barbecue map. I've always loved barbecue. I've always gone on road trips all over the South just to try legendary spots, and had a little bit of a knowledge of it. So I decided to dig in, get every book I could from the library, and become a barbecue expert.
Wow. So talk while we're on the books, are there any books that stood out in your mind that were particularly helpful for you during the research?
Yeah, I didn't know much about Texas style. So Daniel Vaughn's book, I can't remember what it's called, but I think Texas Road Trip, where he drove around, and he actually had a map of every spot that he went to in the book, and he indicated which type of wood they used. And I thought it was really fun to just look through and see what patterns emerge. And I really like that idea. Yeah, I mean, so many other books. Pretty much every book I could possibly find or order, I read.
Yeah, no, from the research side, how much of this was on the scene research? How many of the places in the big map, and how many are there in the map? How many did you go to?
Yeah, I think there's 183 on the map. It was very hard to pick them, but if you just read every article, every Reddit debate, you start to know after a while what's got to be on there. So I'm pretty confident with my choices. I think for the most part, people have agreed. There's been a few people saying, "Oh, my dad used to take me to this one in the corner of this state. Why didn't you put it on there?" So you'll never make everyone happy. But yeah, I've been to, I think, about 60 of the ones featured on the map, and I've been to over 200 barbecue spots in general now. I keep a little review of each one in my notes app on my phone. So I've definitely been to a ton all over, from the Carolinas to Texas. So yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to swap notes on some of that.
Oh yeah.
Find out what's been good and what I need to try out. So to give everybody an idea, I want to take a moment just to describe the map a little bit. It's a big chunk of the Southeast. You've got sort of bubbles for Chicago and St. Louis, Kansas City, kind of a block for California. I was surprised to even saw Honolulu and Hawaii on the map out there. And then tell everybody about what's included within each one of the places in the map there, Joseph.
Yeah, so a little bit about the states and regions included. I tried to only include a state or a city, or in like Santa Maria Valley's case, a valley, if it laid claim to its own true, authentic, original style of barbecue. So, I'm sure there's some incredible barbecue restaurants in North Dakota, in Connecticut, etc. And I know there are in some of those places, but they're always going to be kind of rooted in either general American barbecue, or in Texas barbecue, or North Carolina style, or something like that. So I tried to hone in on the ones that have something that they've added to the plate. And that's been controversial a little bit, but I still stand by that. I just don't think it would have served well to have every single state and to really focus on the areas that have their own style. So that's kind of how I did that. And then within each region, I have the signature plate of the region. So try to narrow down what makes Georgia barbecue, what makes Texas barbecue, what does a plate look like if you're going to get the quintessential meal at a Texas barbecue spot, even down to the tray versus the plate versus the bowl or whatever's being used. I tried to get it really accurate, tried to get the right sides in there. And a lot of that was done just from deep searching, from talking to people, from going to Google image search on restaurants and seeing what the most common plates were, and really trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and to let everybody know out there, he's got North Carolina and South Carolina, and I think South Carolina gets the credit for home of mustard sauce. North Carolina, the longest continuous barbecue tradition, and everybody out there, all the people that you think about, they're in there. Those restaurants are on there. So Wilbur's in Lexington and Barbecue Center, all those guys in there as well. But I feel like there may be a few of them missing. Since you put it out, Joseph, anything that stands out in your mind, that's something that you missed, that if you could go back and do it again, how would you include them?
Yeah, so one thing that I've done since putting the map out was I started doing individual state maps.
Mm,
So I started with the Georgia barbecue map, and I had over 80 restaurants on there. So that's the region of my heart. So I know Georgia barbecue backwards and forwards, and I don't think that it gets enough attention or renown. So that was a really beautiful experience to get every single spot that meant something to somebody on that map. And I'm actually wrapping up the North Carolina one now.
oh,
So
wow.
to be able to go in and pick the 80 top ones in North Carolina, I really knew I was able to get every single one. But in terms of the American barbecue, there's a couple things that I try to keep in mind. Obviously, there's so many great barbecue spots in every state that you're always gonna leave something out that somebody wanted on there.
Yeah.
But number one, I tried to scour through all of the national and regional lists. So any respected publication that put out a top barbecue list that included like the Charlotte City newspaper, that included
Mhm.
North Carolina publications, that included national ones like Garden and Gun and Southern Living and Texas Monthly and all that. So I tried to make sure that it had some representation. I didn't really want to do like hidden hole in the wall spots. Those are for us to find on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to really pick the institutions, the ones that have defined the style. I gave a little more seniority to places that had been around for a long time. I gave more hierarchy to places that really represented the style that they're in. I tried to make sure every kind of uh, sub style and demographic was included. So, and then I tried to keep my personal taste down to like 10% or less. I wanted to be very little about my thoughts and my
Yeah.
taste, because that would be a totally different map. There's places on here that I did not enjoy my meal at all. So
And they still made it on the map.
yeah, if I knew this was important to American barbecue
Yeah, to
culture,
somebody, right?
it has to
Yeah.
be on there. Yeah, of course. I mean, you love the barbecue that you grew up on. That's pretty much the
Mm,
standard rule.
sure.
So that doesn't mean that if I don't like barbecue bologna, that I'm going to keep it off.
A good perspective to have there. Now, there's another piece we haven't talked about. It's the history, the kings and the queens of barbecue. You've done a nice job kind of giving a high level overview, chronologicalizing the barbecue history from, when it came over and folks discovered it in the Caribbean, from a different language. They were cooking meat over green wood and smoking it, and then down to Columbus, kind of bringing pigs over to the New World. How important was it to include that piece of this in this map,
It's
Joseph?
super important. And a lot of that came from what's the book? The kind of barbecue textbook down there. I'm escaping the name's escaping me, but the big one, that really broke down all the history. Robert Moss's book.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the history was so important to get in there, and I didn't really know the origins. So I was just blown away to find out how cool barbecue is, and that like all Americans contributed to this thing. This is something we really should be proud of.
Mhm.
I've heard it referred to as our culinary gift to the world, and just the fact that Native Americans invented it. So the word comes from a Taino word for
Mhm.
smoking meat over on a raised bed of green sticks over coals, and then it was seen being done in the Caribbean, up and down the South and the East Coast. And then the Europeans came over, brought vinegar, brought the livestock, the pigs, um, and added that to it. And then African Americans kind of sauced it up and seasoned it up and really evolved it what it is in today. And I mean, how cool is that we all built it. We all have a stake in this, and we everybody enjoys it today. Even barbacoa in Texas, and
Mhm.
some of the flavors in Hawaii coming from Asian culture. So it's just a truly American thing. It's something that could only exist here, and I just think it's really cool, and it's something we should all feel good about.
Yeah, definitely a melting pot as a nation, as we've always been, and barbecue having so many different traditions mixed into it to kind of create, like you said, the all-American food more than really anything else. As you were researching this, how long did you spend working on the map, Joe?
Yeah, so I counted the hours, and it was 375 hours of painting time.
That's just the painting.
Yeah, just the painting. The research actually was a lot faster than the doing something for music. For instance, the Atlanta rap map. I listened to thousands of songs and was writing down everything mentioned to put on the map. But
Mhm.
for this one, there was already books, so I really just had to read a few books, scour the internet, and get my notes together and start narrowing down the states. So the research was a little more reasonable. Overall, I'd say it was about a year and 10 months to create. And since then, I moved on to drawing them with line work with pen, and
Mhm.
then digitally coloring. So future maps I can do it a lot faster, a couple months instead of a couple years.
Yeah, and you do a really nice job even at that small scale, and I'm sure you probably draw it really big and then you bring it down, but at that small scale, kind of portraying each one of the character of those barbecue restaurants. The Skylight Inn has the big capital top
Mhm.
on it. Golden Rule has its seal on it. Big Bob Gibson's as well. They're definitely recognizable when you look at the map. You know what place it is, even if you can't see those tiny letters.
Thank you. Yeah, it was completely hand painted with little tiny brushes. So even every single letter on there, even in the paragraphs of type down at the bottom in the timelines, and yeah, I just tried to capture the essence of each building. They're not going to be like architecturally blueprint accurate to the buildings, but if they
Mhm.
had a cool sign, if they had a good color, if they had a funny or fun facade, you know how barbecue spots are with all the hand painted type and the
Yeah.
lettering, and just they're fun. They're awesome to look at. So I try to capture that and make it recognizable and have fun with it too.
Is there anything that you learned during this process about barbecue that maybe surprised you?
Yeah, one of the funniest ones was I'd never heard of snoots before.
Oh.
So St. Louis has a tradition. It's a lot of the old school spots that have been doing it for a while, where they've literally just cut the skin of the pig's face off like a Jeepers Creepers situation, and then they just flatten out the pig's face and smoke it over coals for 8 hours and serve it as snoots. So I'm dying to get to St. Louis one day and try some pig face.
Pig face.
Yeah.
Wow. I have to check that. I don't know that I've had that either. I have to ask my friend, the barbecue tourist about that.
Oh yeah.
He's
I mean,
that
there's
part of
so
the
many
world.
fun just regional oddities like barbecue bologna, and
Mhm.
North Carolina's full of them. There's just so much fun corn sticks and chicken pastry out there. There's so many ones that I haven't got a chance to try yet, but yeah, it's just fun of just colorful. The characters are as colorful as the side dishes.
Yeah, for sure. So as you brought up some interesting traditions here for North Carolina. South Carolina has them as well. Do you have any opinions on the role of the Carolinas in the overall larger American barbecue map? How do we fit into that?
Yeah, I think the Carolinas are a huge part of the story. As I said on the map, that North Carolina style today is truest to the original barbecue of any place in America. So what you guys are doing in North Carolina is kind of the most authentic. It's the most original to what has been done with whole hog still being done, especially in the rural parts of eastern North Carolina. And then I was shocked when I went out to North Carolina for the first time and went to some of the classic spots. It was so different than anything I had had. And at times there were certain things that I was like, this isn't how it's supposed to be, because it wasn't what I grew up on. But
Yeah.
even when I didn't love it, it just felt so precious and so special and so cool and so historical. It felt like I was eating history. And even if like I said, if something wasn't my favorite, I was like, no, but this is special. This needs to be preserved and honored. Um, yeah. Now, one thing Georgia and North Carolina shares is the love of Brunswick stew.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't know if we both love it, but we may not agree on it.
agreed. It definitely changes for sure. And I found it even changes around like close to the South Carolina border. It gets very hash like.
Hmm.
But in Georgia, it's you pretty much don't have any barbecue spots that don't serve it. In North Carolina, I found it's closer to half, but it's still evenly spread across the entire state. So I like seeing that.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a controversy over who really started it, and I think Virginia likes to dip into that
Yeah.
conversation as well.
Yeah, I think Virginia's kind of come ahead in that. They've kind of won, sadly, but Brunswick, Georgia, still has a big sculpture, and they still claim it. So
Well, they've got the name. So,
yeah,
I mean, never mind, there's Brunswick's places in North Carolina. So, talk about your barbecue experience. What is it that you like to have in barbecue as somebody who's got deep roots in Georgia? And I think you've kind of referred to that kind of being your avenue of barbecue. What do you like?
yeah, I love definitely pork. So I love a classic pulled pork sandwich with some slightly sweet sauce, maybe a little heat to it. That's probably my number one. Sides, I'm always going to go with fried okra if it's on the menu. Fried
Oh,
okra is
yeah.
my favorite food of all time. And then I love green beans. I love some of the veggies on there too. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so meat and veggies is a-okay. So I try to stick with that. Um, I love Memphis style. I love the sweet sticky ribs. I love the soul food sides. So I'm definitely like Memphis, Alabama, Georgia is definitely my home region for favorite stuff. But man, I there's something I love in every region of it. I just went to Austin for Thanksgiving, so I sampled a whole bunch of the classics out there. We stood in
Yeah.
line for Franklin's, went to Interstellar, and some phenomenal stuff out there. It was different. There were some things where I was like, this isn't how you do macaroni cheese. You know what I mean? So I love some of it. And then to me, it was a little more savory. I like a little bit of sweetness in my barbecue. To me, that's what takes to another level. But I know some of the North Carolina purists love the vinegar with no sweet as well. So I just love that everybody is just die hard about a different flavor profile, and we all coexist. But we always looking at each other like, what? You know?
It's a friendly controversy
Yeah,
between the straight vinegar and whether you're going to put tomato sauce in it or whether you're going to have mustard or whether you're going to, just do it Texas style,
totally.
obviously.
Totally.
Always fun to have those debates all along. Speaking of debates, Joseph, if I'm in Atlanta, what are some barbecue spots I need to hit?
Oh yeah. So I moved to Marietta about a year ago, and that's in the far northwest suburbs,
Hmm.
kind of the opposite of where Stone Mountain is on the northeast. And man, I found it to be kind of a hotbed out here. There's a spot called Righteous Q that I really really love. Great brisket. My number one spot right now in Atlanta is Owens and Hull, and they were chosen by Daniel Vaughn as the number 2 best Texas style spot outside of Texas. And originally it was a Georgia boy and then a guy who had worked at Goldie's.
Hmm.
So Texas legendary DNA in it as well. And that I like that better than the brisket that I had in Texas as well. Just absolutely phenomenal. What else? Yeah, Brian Furman's spot out here was my number one when it was here.
Yeah, bees.
Yeah, Community Q in Decatur. There's a lot of great ones in Atlanta. I think that we don't get the credit for just the sheer amount. There's got to be at least 80 barbecue restaurants in the city of Atlanta.
That's probably underestimating. I like Fox Brothers. That's one I'll throw in there too. Been through
Yes,
and had
Fox
that a
was
few
great.
times. Really good. Let's talk a little bit about outside of barbecue for a second, Joe. VeazeyStudio.com. You can find out all about your business, and you're doing artwork and art design, illustrations. Tell me a little bit about what that business looks like and how you got into that world.
Yeah, for sure. Went to school for graphic design and had always kind of been an illustrator as well. So whether I've had an agency job or an in-house designer role or been an art director, junior designer, whatever, I've always been doing work on the side. So I've always loved to kind of have a little bit of a freelance practice. So that's evolved over the years and currently has added in the I guess you could call it fine art on the side. So currently I still take on some freelance work, and then most of my time is spent promoting and selling the posters. So I do a lot of festivals all around Atlanta, and sometimes I venture outside of Atlanta as well. I did Watermelon Days Festival down in Cordele, Georgia, and South Georgia. I did the Lexington Barbecue Festival in Lexington. That was fun.
Okay.
That was a
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah.
So my business right now is kind of split between, outside of any freelance work I take on, it's split between vending at festivals. So just about every weekend outside of the winter months, I can do a festival somewhere around Atlanta, and I sell the posters. I get to meet people, talk barbecue all day long. It's a
Nice.
blast.
Yeah.
And then I'm representing quite a few stores in the Atlanta area, so that keeps me busy, keeping them stocked up and searching out new wholesale places to wholesale to, and then selling online. So every podcast interview, every article written, everything like that helps contribute to that. I do sell the American barbecue map at americanbbqmap.com. That'll pass you over to the Veazey Studio site. But you can also just search for Veazey Studio. And yeah, we sell the maps for, I think, $44. It's super high quality print, great conversation starter in the house, and endless hours of enjoyment picking through all the details.
Yeah, and don't take this the wrong way. There are so many details. It's small. I had to get a magnifying glass. I'm getting old. I can't see, but it's so cool to get in there real close on the map and see all those little details. Really you can tell you really spent a lot of time doing that stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah. So people can find the work at americanbbqmap.com,
Yep.
or they can catch you at a festival. Any chance we could see you in Charlotte for the Carolina Barbecue Festival coming up in April?
Yeah, I saw that commercial. It looked great. I'm definitely going to have to look into that, because I like to do a couple out of state every now and then. I think I need to reassess when I can finish the North Carolina barbecue map up. And once that's done, I'm going to have to hit a couple of North Carolina festivals for sure.
That's a good plan. I know who to put you in contact. Let me get you hooked up with Aaron and Sweet Lewis Donald over there. We can get you worked out at the festival. You talked about the North Carolina map. And tell me about the statewide maps. There's an Atlanta map, or I'm sorry, it's a Georgia map that you have.
Yes.
How many of those have you completed, and how do we get our hands on those?
The Georgia map is available for sale online. They're half the size of the American barbecue map is huge, as you've seen. It's 3 feet wide. So the individual state ones are half size. They're still a large, nice poster size, 18 by 24 inches, 2 feet tall. And that allows me to really zoom in and just expand upon the state. So with Georgia, I was able to just travel to so many of them and explore. And through my vending, I'm always asking people, what's your favorite barbecue spot? So I've been gathering some good tallies of what's your favorite. Reddit had some great posts where it was like, what's your favorite Georgia spot? And there's 400 answers. And I went through and added them all up and made sure that contributed to it. There's state barbecue trails to inform who's really using wood and all that. So it's really fun to go through. And one of my favorite parts of this project has been going to the actual restaurants, and I always try to drop off a framed copy to them as a gift. And
oh, wow, nice.
I've almost brought a couple of the owners to tears. It's been such a beautiful experience, like being so honored to be included, and knowing that these maps are hanging up all across the country and in some of the most legendary spots from my road trips is probably my favorite. It feels like the biggest success of the map so far.
Yeah, it's something great that you can leave behind. Now, I got to ask, and I've thought about this earlier, but it kind of takes me back to those days in the 80s or the 90s when the Chamber of Commerce would go out and sell these ads to businesses, and they would create an illustrated map of the city. But in that case, the people were buying those spots on there. So they were putting their name out there with a bought advertisement. This is not a paid sponsorship, right, Joseph? This is what the people have said throughout your research. That's how you got on the map.
True. Nobody had any sort of influence on getting on here. A lot of people have tried. I get a lot of emails saying, hey, what do we got to do to get on here? And I'll always look into them. I'll check them out. I'll stop by when I'm in the area. But I've managed to keep it completely pure with all my maps. And I try to not even tell people it's coming out. I try to just put it out. And then every printing, I can revise it a little bit. If someplace closed or something came up, I can repaint it, Photoshop it in. It'll look just like the original. So yeah. So
Georgia's done. North Carolina in the works. Have you got an idea on maybe what comes after that? I know Texas is a big state.
Yeah, all the research is done for North Carolina, so it's pretty much ready to go. I even went through every single restaurant on Google Maps and looked at their menu. And I tallied up where Brunswick stew is, where's Red Slaw, where does Red Slaw stop, where does chicken pastry come in, where butter beans, where's corn sticks and whole hog. So I feel like it's pretty accurate. I think I got all the important restaurants, and I've been to a ton of them. I've really explored North Carolina barbecue. So I kind of put a little extra one, knowing this isn't my home base. It's kind of my second most knowledgeable state. But I really wanted to make sure I was doing you guys right and honoring you guys in the way that it should be. But such an awesome tradition you guys have going on there. So research is done. I think it'll take about a month of drawing, another half a month to color. And then I'm actually wrapping up the final drawings right now of my next map, which is actually the kind of secretive, but I'll spill the beans on this.
Oh, let's do it. Break news.
I'm wrapping up the the Gentleman's Club map of Atlanta.
Oh,
So much
whoa.
insane history. You would
That's
not
a different
believe.
podcast, but I can only
Yeah.
imagine.
A different whole platform for that podcast.
Sure.
But the stories I've uncovered are I mean, the Gambino crime mafia family was down here running one. There was murders. There's espionage. There's bombs. There's bombing rival strip clubs. It's insane. And
Holy cow.
that one's a little more like a Where's Waldo style drawing, where I have hundreds of characters crawling all over it, and they're all like kind of authentic to who would have been working at this place or whatever. So it's super fun. It's gonna be crazy. And then I'm jumping right in North Carolina after that, and I've been thinking about Alabama as the next state. And then I also want to do American pizza regional styles, which are absolutely fascinating.
Sure.
I thought there would maybe be 5 or 6 I could draw, easy, quick map. There's like over 20. Like there's so many weird, in like cities I've never even heard of have their own pizza style. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's just as much passion between the styles of pizza as there are about the styles of barbecue.
Yeah. I think like it's a little more like there's smaller differences in pizza. Barbecue has like big regional shifts all over the place, and I think there's just thousands of more barbecue spots. But pizza is generally in areas where especially Southern Italian immigrants came over, and then something kind of just changed once they got here, and it evolved. So it's a lot more limited to where it is, but I think it's gonna be an awesome map and really fun too. And that's one that's been recommended to me a lot when I'm at festivals. Like, hey, you got to do a pizza map. You know, everyone who doesn't love pizza.
Sure, of course. Everybody loves pizza. So, Joseph, as we kind of wrap it up here, a lot of great insight. Appreciate you taking the time. I want to allow you an opportunity to talk about something that's important to you. I know a lot of this stuff that we've talked about today is important to you. That's your livelihood, your business, your passion. Obviously, I hear it in your voice. Anything else that we haven't touched on that maybe you'd like to let our audience know?
That's a good question. I would say, each of the maps I've been able to, haven't yet on the barbecue map, but will after the year's over. But I try to have a charitable aspect to each one. So with the Atlanta Rap Map, we gave back to Hope Atlanta, which does a lot of amazing work with homelessness and hunger in Atlanta. So the thinking was all the areas on the map were, inner city areas that have struggled with gentrification and things like that. So, or benefited from it in ways as well. So just wanted to honor those places and all the people where they're from, and just look out for those categories, homelessness and hunger. With the barbecue map, just with honoring the culture and almost being like more of just a cultural honoring is really what the map is. So we teamed up with SFA, the Southern Foodways Alliance, which they've done so much documentation, and they do great work with Southern Foodways. So we're donating, we're going to cut them a check at the end of the first year from proceeds. So every purchase goes towards that a little bit, and really excited to be able to do that. And I think part of the mission of Veazey Studio is just honoring culture. I've always absolutely loved culture and how it develops in different areas. And they say barbecue is kind of like cheese and wine in Europe. Every little region is going to be a different variety of doing it, and it's underappreciated. It's so cool. It's something that we should be celebrating a lot more than we do. And I think it's definitely on the verge of. I think it already has exploded in levels of appreciation. But I think it's on the verge of even being a bigger national treasure for sure.
And that, my friends, is the final word from Joseph Veazey with Veazey Studio, American Barbecue Map, many other great projects. Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Jigga. This was a blast. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed it too. It's our absolute pleasure. You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, sponsored by the Carolina Barbecue Festival, April 17th and 18th in Charlotte's Victoria Yards. Before that, it's the Barbecue Brunch, Brisket and Biscuits in partnership with Savor Charlotte and charlottesgotalot.com. That's happening March 28th, Town Brewing Company in Charlotte. Tickets on sale now at carolinabbqfest.org. Be sure to use the promo code Low and Slow for your discount. And speaking of Low and Slow, visit lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you'll find our blog with festivals and other event details. You can sign up for a weekly newsletter. We deliver the latest Carolina barbecue news, fundraisers, food truck schedules, events, all that to your email inbox. Just sign up at lowslowbbqshow.com. And of course, our episodes are there, all 4 seasons of our podcast, including a lot of the Carolina Barbecue Festival pitmasters, Michael Letchworth, Jake Wood, Eric Pickle, of course, Lewis Sweet Lou Donald. Find it all, lowslowbbqshow.com. The Low and Slow Barbecue Show is a proud part of the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. That's where our producer, Andrew Moose, makes us sound good every episode. Thank you so much, Mr. Moose. To our audience, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. If you like what you hear, share our podcast with your food-loving friends and give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast stream. For the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, I'm Chigger Willard, reminding you that for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.